Okay, there's only two reasons why you've clicked on this video now. You're either from the UK and want to be reaffirmed that we're just built different, or you hate the UK and want to shit on whatever argument I'm going to pose. Because Lando is overhyped, Lewis is annoying, and George is... well, he just is, isn't he? And Oscar is the best F1 driver that has ever lived. Of course.
Is that red or green? I feel like that's red.
I think that, no, that's definitely green.
Bro, that is red.
That is definitely green.
Can the official...
Oh my God. I'm in so much trouble here.
Well, I'm happy to report that I'm in neither camp here. I do like the UK, but I still think that Lando is overhyped, Lewis is a fucking dickhead, and that Aussie fucker really is amazing. But at the same time, I cannot deny that the UK drivers have historically had a phenomenal run in the sport. In fact, the UK has produced 10 of the 30 or so champions in F1. 1/3 of F1 champs had grown up in the roaring fields of Great fucking Britain. That means we're just fucking better, innit? Well, actually, the real reason why the UK has so many driver champions is because the sport is fucking ancient. And 8 of the 10 champions had raced and won in the 20th century. And 6 of the 10 champions had raced and won before 1977. Yeah. The short answer as to why the UK has so many successful drivers is that the sport is old as fuck. And back then it was way less international and rather focused on the UK. So that's it then. The truth has been uncovered, Bob's your uncle. Well, that's not really the end of it, is it? Because if you look at today's grid, you might notice that there's a considerable number of UK drivers placed in top teams. We do have the goth boy at McLaren, Woody at Mercedes, and of course Elton John himself. And from next year, we're also going to have young Ollie, who tested and rode for Ferrari, but he'll be unfortunately starting at Haas. It's alright, Georgie practically started his F1 career on a bicycle, and he's done alright. As long as he outperforms his teammate, he'll be promoted in no time, I'm sure. And his teammate will be none other than the French Slender Man, so as long as he gives him some space, Ocon will crash out in the first few laps of each race. He's kind of got a knack for that one.
Let's not focus on him. Let's make sure we let him through nice and cleanly, please. And if you can confirm that, please, as well.
Let me race at the moment. I will once the situation is settled a bit more. But we can lose everything now also at the restart.
Esteban, I don't want you fighting with Fernando. Is that understood?
I need to pass Vettel.
I do not want you fighting Fernando, as long as that's clear.
In any case, I think the proof is in the pudding. It is clear that the UK chaps are prevalent and successful in modern F1, and I plan to find out why is that so. Because you only see one Dutchman on the grid, one German, one Canadian, one Mexican, thank f*** for that. Imagine having 2 of them on one team. That would be the first F1 team to score negative points and go bankrupt within the first few months. And the team principal would probably shoot himself. Let's start with the obvious. They've kind of been doing it for a long ass time. As I mentioned before, in the good old F1 days when helmets were optional and seatbelts non-existent, the sport was small. Very, very small. It was kind of difficult to entice people to F1 racing back then, you know. With the Cold War going on and the oil crisis hitting hard in the 70s, and it was also kind of hard for viewers to follow the sport back then. Kind of difficult to grow a bond with a driver when half the grid used to be either killed off or gravely injured every year. I guess it's not the easiest task to pick a favourite when they're likely going to be killed in the next 12 months. And so because the sport was small, it wasn't as international as it is now. Meaning it was largely focused on its originating areas, and the UK was certainly one of the key ones. So in that sense, you could say the racecraft has more or less been grandfathered in the UK. Grandpas had their sons, fathers had theirs, and that's how babies are made. But for real, the racing bloodline is just immense in the UK. And it really is a big contributing factor. I mean, look at Verstappen. It's worked out pretty well for him. He's a 3-time champion and only partially damaged from his childhood terrors. Well, I don't know how actually damaged he is, to be frank. He's a bit of a fucking nutjob, isn't he? Quite obsessive with winning. Not only did he take away the Red Bull seat from Kvyat, he also took his wife and daughter for good measure. That's fucked up on so many levels. Alongside the driver heritage in the UK, the infrastructure has also been grandfathered in. The number of racing academies, racetracks, karting producers, a lot of this was started in the UK. And so countrymen have had a historical advantage compared to others. And then F1 teams themselves. A f***ton of those are originally from the UK or have been incorporated there. All because it just makes sense. The talent is here, the suppliers are here, the racetracks are here, everything. Honestly, why would you base your team in southern France or Italy, when you can enjoy the beautiful British weather year round? One thing it might be doing is prepping the kids for racing in the rain, because God knows that is the only thing the UK is known for. That and Boris Johnson, of course. But I don't think you understand what I mean when I say that a lot of teams are based in the UK. The obvious, of course, McLaren, the rich people's Mini, and the shopping cart producer is also here. They're all out to the racetrack every now and again. The James Bond Museum still pretends to be British. The Strolls will ship it off to Canada soon enough, I'm sure of it. But then there's also others. The Austrothai energy drinks producer is, of course, based in the UK. The quintessentially German cars manufacturer is, you guessed it, based in the UK. Cause why the fuck not? And my favourite, Alpine, which is a Renault company, is based in the fucking UK. Take that, you fucking Frenchies. And another, which might even be considered as the most important reason, is the public's recognition and love for motorsport. Compared to other countries and regions, F1 racing is fucking huge in the UK. Like, I don't think you really understand. You're literally the fucking man if you're a racer in the UK. Not a racist. A guy that races cars, a driver. Not a racist. Jesus. Although that is kind of picking up here as well. In America, the one thing most kids want to be when they grow up is a rock star. Because it comes with all the fucking recognition, fame, and drugs and groupies. So all the things we want when we were kids. Well, in the UK, it's the same, but for F1 drivers, mate. Instead, you of course get the petrol and race cars. And the fame and drugs and groupies, of course. There's no better motivator. So from a very young age, you aspire to be not a doctor, not a teacher, not a police officer. You want to do fuck all, skip school, and drive race cars for a living. I mean, Lewis bought a bright red private jet when he was 28. He was a short, balding man and yet getting more pussy than the local veterinarian. Maybe that's one way to prop up the sport in the US. Logan should rebrand and make a name for himself as the absurdly rich, partying playboy in Europe. I think that will motivate the kids in the suburbs. Because God knows if Logan is the best talent the US can produce, you lot need all the help you can get. Alright, well I think it's pretty clear now. UK drivers are so damn good because of the racing heritage, because all the infrastructure and teams and supplies are already in the UK since the 50s, and are the best in the f***ing world. And it is each British boy's dream to date Nicole Scherzinger, Gigi Hadid, Kendall Jenner, Rihanna, and Rita Ora. So, that's one way to convince your dad of investing in your karting career. Oh, and there's one more reason why UK drivers are usually pretty successful. We're just simply better, innit?